Namaste. Welcome to Shubham Alock YouTube channel. Today we have a very interesting and fascinating question that is related to destiny and free will. One of the viewers of our channel dropped me a WhatsApp message discussing about the role of destiny and free will. Generally, when we approach astrology, we think that everything is predestined. That's not very true. That's not completely true. It's not in this way. Understand that astrology doesn't teach you fatalism, right? Or astrology is not a fatalistic science. If you read Parampara, Hora Shastra, or other texts of astrology, specifically the texts related to astrological philosophy, you will understand that planets only indicate the karmas, and along with that, planets indicate the type of result that one will get through in his life. This needs to be understood very deeply, right? Planets are not coming to your life and forcing you to do something. It just indicate a particular type of a tendency which helps us predict what a person will be doing in this particular situation. Let me tell you something, astrology more or less works like chemistry, right? So there are particular elements, or to understand this in the science of Vedic physiognomy, there is a particular attribute of Saturn, and say Saturn is the karaka for misery, or Saturn is the karaka for the sense of misery, the feeling of misery. So using that signification of Saturn, that Saturn signifies so and so things, you say misery, elders, and multiple things. We understand Saturn, right? A particular nature of Saturn, right? Saturn is a tamasic planet. It indicates miseries. It indicates elderly people. It indicates grief, right? With all this understanding, you get to know the nature of the planet. And when that particular planet is situated in a house, what happens? By the type of results that they will indicate, by the type of nature that the planet have, we decide the type of result that one is supposed to get, right? So try to understand this particular point. Planets are not doing something on your behalf. It is just you who will actually do the thing, who will actually participate in the karma. Planets just indicate that based on the temperament, based on the choices, likes, dislikes of the person, how he is going to behave in a particular situation, right? This understanding is very important, and this understanding is very compulsory, right? Understand it. If someone is having an extramarital affair, it is not Saturn who is going to have an extramarital affair, right? Saturn can just show the tendency that one may have extramarital affair, right? But whether to control that tendency, whether to control your mind, is all up to you. So whether to get flown by the tendency given by the planet, or whether to mindfully resist it, is all up to the native. And because of this particular reason, you must have heard that it is told planets don't affect yogis and sadhus. Why don't? Like in the horoscope of Ramakrishna Paramhans, you will see a debilitated Venus in Navamsha, right? But the planets don't impact yogis that much. Why? Because yogis know how to consciously control, how to consciously control their mind, how to consciously control their thoughts, and how not to fall into the trap of planets. Although it is a bit difficult, but that is possible. Many people have done that. And normally, well-learned astrologers are well aware of the way how planets behave. And because of this particular reason, it is told that the one who is well-versed in the science of astrology, planets don't impact them. Because of this particular reason, because he knows how the planets are going to act, and he can stop his mind, he can control his mind, he can control his thought to respond to that stimuli that is created by the planet, right? That is the first thing that you have to understand. Getting my point? Secondly, in the same thing, in the same stream, before I go to the second point, in the same thought, suppose, and I have seen this in multiple cases. Take an example. I was doing consultation for a couple who actually had a very bad marital life, but they were together since years now. Right? How? In this particular case of the Scorpio ascendant, the 7th Lord Venus is in the 12th house. Right? Now, why this person, despite having the 7th Lord in 12th house, quite afflicted, like combust by sun, how this person, despite having the 7th Lord in 12th house, is able to have a good marital life? Of course, their marital life have their own shares of ups and downs, but still, looking at it from a wholesome perspective, we find that they are living good life, almost good, with a few fights and a few difference of opinions. They are living good life. Why? 7th Lord in the 12th house. Now here you understand, 12th house have multiple significations. One of that signification is loneliness. One of that signification is being away from the spouse. One of that signification is loss of spouse. Now out of all of these 3-4 significations, only one, or if the planet is exalted, if the planet is in own sign 2, or if the planet is exalted, then 3. Only this 1, 2 or 3 significations will come to pass. All of the significations will not come to pass. Do you get my point? So when you consciously, what that couple do? The husband lives in India and the wife works in a foreign country. So they often visit each other. They often spend time together. But for the most of the time, say for the 50% of the year or for the 60% of the year, they live separately. Right? They work in 2 different countries. Sometimes people work in 2 different cities. Right? So now what happens in this particular case? That the bad result of 7th Lord being in 12th house, giving the loss of marriage, is actually converted to a different spectrum altogether. That is physical distance from the spouse. Do you understand my point? What the particular point that I want to make? Planet in a particular house will activate 1, 2 or 3 traits of that house based on the nature, etc. of the planet, right? By free will, by the use of free will, you can actually decide the result that you want to get manifested. I will give you a very cute example, right? Suppose someone is having the 7th Lord aspecting his, someone having Saturn aspecting his 7th Lord, or 7th Lord under the influence of Saturn. Saturn indicates misery. Saturn indicates elderly people. Now what he can do? If he gets married to a normal person, if he gets married to someone with the same age group, this Saturn is going to give miseries, right? Because misery is the signification of Saturn. But if the person marries to someone elder in age, then another signification of Saturn, elder, right, indicating old people, that signification of Saturn will get activated and the misery in marital life will not be there. I know a client of Gemini Lagna having Saturn in the 7th house, and he actually married someone who was 4 years elder than him. So what happens? One signification of the Saturn is activated and the problem of misery in marriage that should have been created by Saturn is avoided. Like in the same case, there are many people who suffer Mangal dosha, and you will see in many charts the Mangal dosha is very fierce, whereas in other charts the Mangal dosha is not very fierce. And let me tell you why this is. Mars indicates younger people, right? Mars indicates someone who is younger than you. So if someone will get married to a spouse in the same age group, and if they are having Mangal dosha, this Kuja dosha or Mangal dosha is going to create problems in their marital life because they both belong to the same age group, or rather say societal approved age group. But at the same point of time, as I told you, as Mars indicates someone younger, if the person having Mars dosha, Mangal dosha, Kuja dosha gets married to someone who is younger than their age, the malefic effect of Mars influencing the 7th house, the malefic influence of Mars impacting the 7th house will be highly decreased. So this is the role of free will while choosing things. And because of this particular reason, I say that everyone should learn astrology, right? Because when you see, you can go and take consultation from an astrologer and he may explain you one thing, two thing, three thing, or you can get a 1 hour consultation, 2 hour consultation, 3 hour consultation, but you will not know which decisions to take in day-to-day life, right? You cannot consult one astrologer every day, or you cannot keep on consulting an astrologer for a lifetime, right? So when you learn astrology yourselves, you know the impact of planets, and in your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day choice, you can beneficially use this astrological knowledge to your advancement, to make good and great choices that will actually simplify your life. And in this way, by learning the science of astrology, you can actually practice free will in your life to make better decisions, good decisions, more rewarding decisions. For this particular point, I say people to learn astrology, and only for this particular point in the Vedic era, in the Vedic civilization, in the Vedic thought, it is told that everyone should learn astrology. In the ancient Gurukuls, in ancient India, it was mandatory for everyone to learn astrology at least for 3-4 years. Why it was mandatory? So that they can make good decisions, so that they can make best decisions and avoid problems in their life that actually comes from taking bad decisions. The first case of destiny versus free will, and I am pretty sure that I am clear with my answer. Coming to the second part of it, say, many people will go by the approach, that without the will of God, nothing happens. Not even a leaf will move without the desire of the God. Like God desires everything, right? We are puppets. God is the controller. This thing actually is not very true, right? If you learn the philosophy because the soul chose to engage with Maya, he gets the misery. God as the omnipotent father will never want their children to suffer, but because of the particular choices that we make, we suffer problem, right? That's pretty true. You know what? In astrology, we have two things: Muhurta, matchmaking. And you know what? Many of my students ask, sir, what is the authentic astrological remedy? Let me tell you, there are only two authentic astrological remedies, that are Muhurta and matchmaking. And you will see a surprising fact. The rules of matchmaking are not dealt in the predictive astrology books. The rules of matchmaking are dealt in Muhurta books only. Muhurta is all about remedies, and remedies are all about free will. When you have a very good 10th house, you are naturally inclined to start a work, do a work, take something in your hands at the right and appropriate time. But if the 10th lord is in bad condition, you are naturally inclined in such a way that you will take bad decisions and wrong decisions, right? So at this point, Muhurta comes to your rescue. And you know what? If you learn traditional astrology from Varanasi or traditional astrology from some guru, they will give maximum emphasis and maximum importance to Muhurta. Why? Because Muhurta is one of the biggest remedy. Muhurta is one of the biggest tool in your hand. Say you have a very bad 10th house. That means you are destined to suffer problems and failures in your undertakings, in your business, in your work, in your profession. But that's the place where Muhurta comes to your rescue. You know what? The horoscope will have 50% of the impact, and the Muhurta will have 50% of the impact. So when you have a bad chart and you don't consult a Muhurta, you have 100% bad result, right? But at the same point of time, when you have a bad horoscope, but you choose good Muhurta, you consult an astrologer to get a good Muhurta, what happens? The 50% result is still bad, but the 50% results are good, right? So say you have a very bad 10th house, but you choose to take help of Muhurta to get a job or to join a job. What will happen in this particular situation? Your salary may not be good. You may suffer harassment at your office. You may suffer problems at your office, but the job will be rewarding. The job will be permanent. The job will be lasting. It will give you fulfillment. And when you will leave the job, it will give you contacts. It will give you people who can help you. Getting my point? So that is the uses of Muhurta. You have a bad chart for marriage, right? So are you destined to suffer a bad marital life? If yes, then why there is the concept of matchmaking? Do you get my point? You must have heard people saying that we got married without matching our horoscopes and we have a very good marital life, specifically old people. Why this happens? When you have a good 7th house, when you have a good Venus, you are naturally inclined to get attracted to those people who naturally match with your horoscope. But when you have a bad 7th house, you are naturally inclined to have disasters in relationship, disasters in marriage, right? Only for this particular reason, you have matchmaking, right? So when you have a combination for bad marriage, you have to consult Muhurta, a good Muhurta for marriage, and a good matchmaking. So by consulting the good Muhurta and by having a good matchmaking, if you get married, then the bad yogas for marriage, right, or the destructive yogas for marriage, their functioning will be limited to 40%. And the 60% of the result, 60% of the marital life will depend on the Muhurta for the marriage and the matchmaking. Do you get my point? So by consulting Muhurta, by consulting matchmaking, what you are doing? You are actually exercising your free will, right? You have to do something, and if a work is there, that have to be done, right? This is what Krishna tells to Arjuna in Mahabharata, that Arjuna, you are a warrior and you have to fight. That is there. That karma is inevitable. You have to fight. But when to start the fight is in your own hands, right? You know, I specifically think that when the war was starting in Mahabharata, it was actually a wrong time. If you see the description in Mahabharata, it is told that the war is happening at a very bad time. There are these and these bad coincidences and these bad things that will be very disastrous for the whole country. So what Krishna did, Krishna started giving the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, and he actually delayed a bit, delayed the start of the war by some time, and actually got the war started at the right time. So Pandavas won, and the world haven't went through a disaster, right? It was then peacefully ruled by Pandavas for some time, right? Even if you see any TV serial or something, whenever any sage or any god will approach Vishnu to rescue them, what Vishnu will say? That, when the right time will come, I will take an incarnation, right? This is the statement of Vishnu. Why the right time? It is the right Muhurta, right? So Muhurta and matchmaking also, but matchmaking is only used for one particular purpose, that is marriage. Muhurta is for everything, right? So Muhurta is that powerful tool in your hand that can be very advantageously used to implement free will, in everything that you do. And believe me, if you consult a good astrologer who knows about Muhurta in depth, there's a difference. People knowing about Muhurta, people having good knowledge of Muhurta, and people knowing Muhurta in depth are three different people, right? Just looking at the Panchanga for the year and having a Muhurta is not sufficient, right? You have to get the Muhurta matched by your horoscope, right? So there is a general Muhurta and there is a horoscope based custom Muhurta, right? So consulting both the things, the general Muhurta and horoscope based personalized Muhurta, if you choose a Muhurta and do the work at that time, the work is destined to become a success. And by doing so, you will actually implement free will, right? Now going further, there's a third aspect to it. Can everything be avoided? The way that I have explained you up to this extent, you may think that everything can be avoided, right? That's not very true. Let me give you a Parampara secret. And believe me, there is no one who is going to tell you this secret except than me. I have also told this secret some 2 years ago on my website. In one of the articles, right? I have just hit this gem in one of my articles and few people have noticed it, but few have noticed, of course, yeah. So I am going to give you the knowledge, the knowledge which costed me multiple years. It costed me many sleepless nights, many years of traveling, serving my guru. Getting my point? I lost so many shoes while searching for this knowledge that, I can't explain you. Right? Let me give you the Parampara knowledge about it. There's a shloka that I was taught. The shloka goes as Dvitri Samvad Bhavad Pramanyam. Anything that is repeated from 2 or more than 2 reference points, that things happen for sure. There are 6 things, there are 6 ascendants that needs to be considered while making a prediction. Yeah, it's not one, there are 6 ascendants that needs to be considered while making a prediction. Those 6 ascendants we learn in the Parampara, we learn in the tradition, right? You get all this secret knowledge only in a bona fide authentic tradition. Out of those 6 ascendants, in my experience, I have found these 4 ascendants. The 6 ascendants that I am talking about are other 6 ascendants, right? The 4 ascendants that I will tell you are from another technique, right? So these 2 techniques don't have any link up. I just told you for the knowledge that there are 6 ascendants from where the chart needs to be seen, right? So there are 4 ascendants: the birth ascendant, the moon sign, the placement of the moon as the ascendant, the placement of the sun as the ascendant, and the sign of the Navamsh Lagna as the ascendant. These 4 ascendants, right? Any combination, you have to check from all these 4 ascendants. And if the combination is repeated from any 2 or more than 2 of these 4 ascendants, then that result is permanent, then that result is fixed, and that result cannot be avoided. Let's take an example. Suppose someone is having 9th lord in the 10th house from the ascendant, and someone is having 9th lord in 10th house from the moon as well, right? Let me give you an example. Suppose someone is born in the Libra ascendant, right? And Mercury is in the 10th house. So what it is? 9th lord in the 10th house. At the same time, the moon of this person is in Capricorn ascendant, right? The moon for this person is in Capricorn ascendant, right? Now in the Capricorn ascendant, what is the 10th house? The 10th house is Libra. And what is the 6th house? That 6th house is Virgo, right? So now here, the 9th lord and the 9th house and the 10th house cannot have a connection. But suppose the Venus goes to Virgo. Now what happens? From the ascendant, the 9th lord is in the 10th house. From the moon sign, the 10th lord is in the 9th house, right? So the connection between the 9th and 10th is repeated from 2 references, right? This is called Dvitri Samvad Bhavat Pramanyam. And in this case, The result of the connection between 9th and 10th cannot be avoided under any circumstance, cannot be avoided under any situation. So for an example, suppose someone is having Lagna Lord in the 6th house, and in Navamsha he is having a 6th Lord in the 7th house from where he is expecting the Navamsha Lagna. So what is happening? The connection of the ascendant to the 6th house is clear in the D1 chart, as the ascendant Lord is in the 6th house. And in the Navamsha, the 6th Lord is in the 7th house expecting the ascendant, right? So the 6th Lord or the 6th house is connected to the ascendant in both the D1 chart and D9 chart, right? So the rule of Dvitri Samvad Bhavad Pramanyam, the same combination being applicable from 2 or more factors, is now applicable in this chart. And in this particular case, it will be very difficult for the person to avoid the 6th house traits of litigation, fights, wounds, diseases, enemies, opposition, etc. Do you get my point? So only when this particular rule is there applicable in the chart, only when this Dvitri Samvad Bhavad rule is applicable in the horoscope, only in that scenario, free will not help you, and whatever is destined will come to pass no matter whatever you do. In all other cases, you have complete choice to choose which signification to activate. You have complete choice to choose a good Muhurta and make the thing successful, right? So yeah, there is a fate and there is a free will, and they work together. They work in synchronization. They work in 50-50 portion, and you always have a choice to get the knowledge of astrology, to get the knowledge of stars, and use free will to make good and better decisions in your life. And you always have a choice to remain ignorant about astrology and live life by the fate. Both of the things are there, and both of them work simultaneously. You just have to choose whether you want to become a puppet in the hands of fate, or you want to sail over the fate. Dr. B.V. Raman, in his book My Experiences in Astrology, wrote a sentence that fools obey planet, wise men control them. I correct this shloka, I correct this line, and as per me, I always say fools obey planet, wise men synchronize with them, right? Thank you for watching the video. Namaskar.